I've had a handful of paranormal experiences in my life that can all be chalked up to anxiety, an overactive imagination, or being high, except for one. It was pretty minor, but I still haven't been able to explain it, no matter how I racked my brain. Back when I was a child and still a Christian, specifically of the evangelical flavor, I'd often theorize about things I read in the Bible, as if it were any of the other stories. I like to do that with my churchmates and pastor were not fans of my hot Christian lore takes, if you were wondering. One notion that I'd taken to was the idea that demons scare people because that's what gives them power to escalate and do everything else. So the few times I found myself in a situation that I decided might be paranormal, my approach was to firmly and pointedly ignore it. My childhood best friend lived in a house that she had strange experiences in, as did her dad. According to her, she often heard footsteps, felt like she was being watched, and things went missing and showed up in odd places. Random chills in the air, that sort of thing. Pretty stereotypical ghost tropes. I heard the footsteps once, but that could have been house sounds. I definitely experienced the random chills and sudden distinct feeling of being watched and loomed over, but that could have been anxiety. And you know how fear can be contagious around other people, especially if you're already predisposed to believe in ghosts and demons. I definitely had nightmares more often in that house, but that could have been subconscious fears. I heard children laughing once, but I do have an overactive imagination and have had audio hallucinations more than a handful of times. The one thing I could never explain was this. I'd been coming to this house since age 8, and I was now 18. I was staying with my friend and her dad for a few months. I wanted to try living somewhere that wasn't with my parents for a while, and I was alone in the house at the time. I was on my computer and heard some sort of odd banging. Immediately after, I got that being loomed over feeling, that being stared at feeling, and oddly enough, I got the distinct notion that something was very angry. I responded by cranking my computer volume all the way up, on headphones of course, and putting on a movie compilation. As someone who did a lot of maladaptive daydreaming and had already gotten used to ignoring scary things I didn't like, I was able to pretty quickly remove my mind from the situation, except that angry feeling never went away. I didn't dwell on it, but it was still present. And as I refused to acknowledge it, I distinctly remember feeling that anger swell. And then, completely alone in the house, a penny was pitched at the back of my head, hard enough that it left a tiny goose egg afterwards. You'd think that would freak me out, and I did startle, of course. But immediately after, I actually burst out laughing. I think I said something along the lines of, "Paranormal activity really hyped you fuckers up, didn't it?" And then promptly returned to watching stick men vomit rainbows. The feeling dissipated. I remember noticing sometime later that I never got any weird feelings in the house anymore, unless I was around my friend. I'm still dubious about the paranormal. I'd be outright dismissive if it weren't for that goddamn penny. To this day, it still bothers me deeply, and I have no way to explain it. Yeah, you showed him. When a demonic entity can't get the response out of you it was looking for, like fear, anxiety, and so forth, it just wasted its energy on you. Chances are it won't try again and leave you be. You mentioned you have an overactive imagination that, together with your religious belief, is a mighty weapon against those beings. I had my share of strange occurrences, strange noises, voices, things flying across the room, inanimate toys moving on their own, even saw things materialize in front of me. Man, that penny story is wild. It's like the ghost got so frustrated with being ignored that it went full poltergeist light on you. Honestly, your reaction is legendary though. Most people would freak out, but you just roast the ghost and go back to watching stickmen. Maybe it realized you weren't going to give it the drama it wanted and peaced out. The paranormal might be weird, but your sense of humor definitely won the day.